Yes, you're the first this time. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Okay, so let's just give it a minute. Let's see who else is going to get online and who else is going to join us in the live. And otherwise, people are just going to catch it on the replay. And that's totally cool as well. So just to situate ourselves, to foreshadow what we're going to talk about. Today we're going to be looking at Thereus and Virgo as some of the key lessons that one needs to follow and take on board. In case you're wondering why I'm speaking with a slight lisp, I've got braces, so it's been there for a while, but it's one of those times where I have to just keep them on. And they've got like little bands and little nubs all over my teeth and whatnot. It's but anyway, so let's get into it now. As all of you should know, Ceres is happily situated in the sign of Virgo. It's been doing its back and forth, so it's not the first time that it's entered Virgo, but it's the time that it's actually settled into the sign. Okay. So, now we can really begin to look at the lessons of Thereus and Virgo and apply them more fully in our lives. Up to this point, we've had a little bit of a taster, but then we had immediately had to go back and deal with Thereus and Leo. And that brought a lot of pain to a lot of people, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, when it came to relationships with their children, when it came to relationships with their pets, anything they really just felt brought them a lot of joy and so on and so forth. So, it's been very, very, very difficult. And just so you have an idea, Thereus first entered Virgo on the 31st of October 2020 and stayed in the sign until the 11th of January. And then from the 11th of January 2021 up till the 4th of August 2021, it was doing its whole, retrograde and then final exiting out of Leo. So now, now coming to the present, Thereus is settled in this sign. So we've really got to take it seriously. Thereus will only really start to enter the sign of Libra around about October 2024, whereupon it's going to be doing its whole back and forth till it settles into that sign July 2025. So it's easiest to just say we're going to be working on this particular set of lessons all the way till July 2025. So, some of you ask me questions like, what does Thereus mean in this house? And what does it mean in this way? And what does it mean in this way? Really, just take the core of the lesson and look at which part of your life requires you to apply that lesson. So, in that sense, you don't really need to get hung up about houses and what different systems say and what the effect of relocation and so on and so forth. Just take the lesson, do a little bit of digging in yourself in your life to see where it applies the most and apply it. And that's the kind of practical or rather practically oriented mindset I encourage taking with respect to astrology. Even if you do look at the more esoteric stuff. It was funny. Someone commented how, and I know I don't normally talk about the spiritual sides of it in too much detail. Someone was saying, oh, okay, I felt this. I guess it's a spiritual message. And of course it is. Thereus is very much where we need to look at patterns of what is hidden, what comes to us through covert surveillance and patterns of predation, and really dealing with these types of attacks is very much part and parcel of how we evolve as individuals and as a species. Even as a species, we could only progress through our evolution in our response to threats in the environment. So, really, in this sense, this has to go into the book. Thereus can very much be seen as an evolutionary factor. So if you were to think about it as something that's just here to oppress you, you actually miss the fact that, however you view the timeline of human evolution, your ancestors and their ancestors and their ancestors could only really create a cumulative base of human knowledge that resulted in the being that you and me and all of us are today by facing those threats. So this is a natural part of growth. When you basically contextualize it as it's a parasite, it's an invader, and that's all that it is, you actually miss out on the natural process of evolution. At least this is the way I am seeing it. There are many ways that I see Thereus, and as I've spent probably more time than anyone else on the planet thinking about this for the past few years, and I would say viewing it as that evolutionary pressure that comes through the way we respond to threats in our environment. I definitely should write that down. So, Thereus in Virgo effectively talks about these threats and pressures that arise from our daily lives because that's what Virgo is about. That's what Virgo rules. It's about how we structure, how we organize, how we look at the daily routines, daily habits, daily rituals that make up our everyday existence. Because it's not like it's fireworks and explosions every single day. The world isn't like that. Astrology isn't like that. Things take time to happen. There's a build up to things, there's a build down to things, which is why you must always be very, very suspicious of people who keep claiming that they have the most important thing in astrology happening every single day. It's not that way. Over time, we shift our responses, we build our resiliency, we change our daily habits and routines till some event happens. And then we readjust and we go into it again. Life is based on the repetition of daily rituals. Whether, and a ritual doesn't necessarily mean anything specifically esoteric from a very biological standpoint. It is effectively the same kind of pattern that we see when, for example, animals go out and perform habitual behaviors again and again and again at certain times. That is ritualized behavior, that is ritualized interaction, that is the basis of life. So, in this sense, Virgo, when you look at it from that perspective, is not just about whether or not you took out the trash today, whether or not you're a good organizational planner, but it's about your ability to create that type of maintenance of equilibrium through the performance of everyday gestures. Theoretically speaking, if anyone's interested in understanding more about it, Judith Butler and Austin Searle talk about this as performativity. This is one of the concepts that I engaged with a fair bit for my PhD thesis, which was about the dramaturgy of ritual. So, effectively, Thereus in Virgo asks us to look at the way we manage the everyday. What is the building blocks of your daily life? How do you organize these daily rituals? How do you invest them in meaning? How do they add up and create a cumulative effect? Now, I was reading this book, and Spirit does not normally guide me to read books because I do a lot more than just read the book. I feel into the book, I look at who's reading it, I look at its collective impact, I look at what are the psychic influences that probably influence the author. And it's not like I'm doing this on purpose, that's just what happens whenever I try to do anything. So I have to be very selective in what I read, who I engage with, who I even look at. Psychic sensitivity is no joke. So there was this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And whilst I find that the book is probably being written by a privileged white man who does not seem to understand the role of structural oppression in changing our particular access to certain behaviors, the core, the core of the book is absolutely sound. Like from a mathematical perspective, he just talked about it very simply. He said, look, even if you just start with one, the value one, and you add to it cumulatively, you increase that value by 1% every day, over the course of a year, you will actually be 37 times better than where you actually started from. I mean, and that's a mathematical formula. I actually did it, went to an Excel spreadsheet, did the math, and went, oh, yeah, that's actually true. So 1% increase sustained every day can create something that is 37 times multiply the value of what you started with. And again, mathematical metaphor, but it really just shows you the power of compounding events. So this is why Virgo has power. It's not about the flashy gestures. It's not about the grandiosity of something. It's about the consistency in performance and how small changes repeated frequently and reenacted over time lead to progress and they lead to stability. The Japanese, I believe, have they come at the same concept through, or they come at the same teaching through the concept of kaizen. And effectively, it's the kind of energy that is all about the small steps that lead you to big changes over time. So when you take this view of Virgo And you don't imbue it with, it has to be this function or this activity in life. But when you look at Virgo as the daily maintenance of habits and equilibrium, whether it's personal equilibrium, professional equilibrium, whether it's your physical equilibrium, your mind, your body, your soul, however you want to see it, how you maintain the everyday is what Thereus is going to be putting pressure on. And remember, Thereus is a predator, but the way we respond to predatory threats is what forces us to evolve. So rather than just viewing it as a cause of fear, view it as an opportunity to evolve, to move to a different state of consciousness. That is literally how humanity got here. So, effectively, that is what I would say the baseline of my understanding of Thereus and Virgo is. So when you take that a step further, to look at the creation of maintenance and equilibrium in any system, one has to have a definition of what that system is, and one has to understand the boundaries of that system. Without a definition, without a boundary to maintain, you have nothing. So, for example, let's say you have a set of values that say you want to be a healthy person every day, you want to improve your health every day, you want to do something. So, you wake up first thing in the morning, maybe you drink a glass of water because you have a certain set idea of, okay, this is my goal, this is what I have to do, and this is how I have to enact it each day. There is a definition through it. Let's say you want to increase that goal. Let's say you're not drinking enough water, which I don't, but I try. Maybe you want to try slowly upping and increasing what you need to do to get to the state that you need to be. So, it's a very simple, subtle changes. Now, from a larger perspective, Thereus in Virgo, if you fail to recognize its influence in your life, Thereus in Virgo can lead to several different things. One is, of course, mental strain. Another is health strain or physical strain on the body. When you look at it in terms of medical astrology, Virgo is very much associated with the digestion and the small intestine, which is why this is really a time where if you have been ignoring what I'm saying, stop ignoring it. Either start working with prebiotics, probiotics, or both. Do parasite cleanses for the gut, because not only will that allow you to feel lighter if your body can and will handle it, it will also help you purify yourself from within. Sun Tzu Mao was I guess you'd call him a medieval Chinese TCM practitioner. My brother says, he I think he thinks I'm weird because I just look at this stuff and I pick it because I've known it and probably met the guy or something, in the previous time. And he was very, very clear. Obviously, the Chinese system is not the only system that does this, but I like that system the most. He was very clear in saying that what you put in your gut has a psychospiritual effect. So, in fact, I was just mentioning this to my friend Meghna, who is watching the video as well, and she's very much into health too. She's actually reading a pretty cool book called The Immunity Code, which I'm going to get, and I think will be quite useful for people as well from the little snippet she shared with me. But effectively, what you put in your gut is not just about whether you had a nice meal and whether you had a good poo later on. It also has a profound influence on your mind, on your psyche, and your spiritual defenses. So, it's one of the reasons why spiritual traditions in the past said, don't eat this or don't take this at this time of day. It's not superstition. Sometimes it is because they understood that there are certain kinds of bacteria that create certain kinds of vulnerability. You must look at the health of the gut. There is no exception to that. If your gut is okay, chances are your head is going to be in a decent place. And if your head is not okay, chances are your gut is not going to be in a decent place either. They have a reciprocal relationship. And if you still want to ignore Thereus, it's going to cause some issue in either of those areas or both until you wake up and pay attention. Now, the other key area of life that Virgo is traditionally associated with is in the same sense of daily rituals of health that maintain the body, and also daily rituals of worth that bring value and a sense of service. Now, this is going to be a strange thing for me, of all people, to say, but the next few years is not going to be a great time for facilitators, because the amount of psychic protection that you are going to need as a facilitator of any kind, whether you are a physical facilitator or physical therapist, whether you are a spiritual facilitator, basically any job where you end up trying to help another person, you're going to see the need to for far, far, far greater self-protection. Just because Thereus is very likely to try and come through the people whom you are helping. And I've already been telling facilitators this. The next couple of years, you really got to just focus on your practice, focus on practicing self care first, and making sure that your energetic boundaries are maintained before you go off and try to heroically rescue somebody. Because that's exactly when their use will hit. If you try to overextend yourself to a point where you get pushed out of your natural equilibrium, you're going to get whacked. And those kinds of attacks are ones that can be very deliberately avoided. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't help someone. That's not what I'm saying at all. But help someone in a way that is, and this is one of my favorite words, sustainable. Sustainable service is something I've been talking about for a while. And all of us are going to need to learn what that means for each of us individually in the Thereus in Virgo period. Help, but not at your cost. Help in a way that is not going to cause you or your loved ones detriment, because nobody needs that. Since 2012, everyone has basically been pushed on an evolutionary path and journey that is encouraging self-reliance. Only when you can stand on your 2 feet, and this is not to exclude everyone, even if you are in a wheelchair spiritually, you still need to be absolutely integrated and aligned in yourself. So whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, your feet still need to connect to the earth. But as long as you are aligned with your feet to the earth and you are standing in alignment, you are less likely to see Thereus's energies coming at you in a negative way. Now, Thereus can also be very manipulative in the sense that it can use the words of service to try and guilt trip you into situations that you don't need to be in. And this is where facilitators need to be a little bitchy. It's funny, recently with the new moon just passed, and you know me, I might look at the sky, at the stars. I might be the sky priestess. Well, I am the sky priestess, but I don't live by the stars. I follow what my intuition tells me to do, and it aligns with the stars. It's great. But recently, I ended up sending a huge email blast. Huge for me, and I went through all of my transactions. I found all of the unique email IDs, and I reconnected to people whom I would not have been able to reconnect with. And I was looking at the statistics. 2% of people unsubscribed. That's fine. I don't even like receiving newsletters in the first place. I think I'm only subscribed to maybe one newsletter, and that's a dude who writes poetry. That's about it. So, but I did actually get the opportunity to hear back from someone who was very, very, very upset with me. And I could tell this was Thereus and Virgo. So I don't want to go too much into it because she might be watching anyway. But she was really pissed off with me, claiming I had gotten her time of birth wrong and I was so arrogant and I had ignored hundreds or dozens, however many other readings she had done, and I had done it my way. And she was so, so, so angry I had wasted her time. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, what, who, what, when, why? So, okay, I'm like, all right, pace yourself. This is already happening. So I look at a situation, I look at the case, I look at the times, and by the way, astro.com is not an absolute authority. Certain states, especially in the United States, did not adopt daylight savings time at the same time. It was even different within parts of states. And when I do a session with anyone, I check. And 99.999% of readers will not check. So I showed her where was she from, what was the history of daylight savings time in her time zone, and I had offered her to give her a refund. I didn't even respond to the vitriol, to the personal attacks. I just said, I will give you a refund if I am wrong. And I was not. She couldn't say anything. I just gave her the facts, I went into the details, and I drew my line. That's an example of Thereus and Virgo. So as long as you come at your service from a perspective where you know your boundaries, you know what you are maintaining, and you are able to say yes or no, you should be okay. And this is a skill that facilitators lack because of the way that New Age philosophy has socialized them into being, and also a shitload of karmic contracts that tell you that spirituality is about sacrifice. If your energy body is like a sieve or like a sponge, you are not going to be able to help another person be autonomous and independent. So that requirement needs to begin with the facilitator. And again, it's not just about people in spirituality, it's also about people who do any kind of therapeutic work. Your boundaries have to be crystal clear. And if people don't like it, if they don't like you having a spine, if they don't like you being able to articulate your truth in a way where, you don't have to be harsh about it, but if you don't, you just have to be clear about it, then maybe they don't need to work with you. So, yeah, that's going to be one of the biggest lessons. That's going to be one of the biggest lessons. And I notice people are dropping off at this point because they don't like hearing this. And that's up to them. But effectively, this is the time where we are going to need to articulate the boundaries of how we manage our energy and how we manage our space. So, of course, this applies to larger circumstances, larger organizations, larger institutions. This is going to be a time where, whether it's in the context of a workplace, whether it's in the context of a nation, whether it's in the context of just a social group and social setting, the question of boundaries and energy management is going to come. In terms of professions, this is really the time to be looking at energy security, organizational management, and analytical approaches that help you redistribute and understand the movement of resources. This is also a very good time to be studying anything to do with holistic healing. But again, you have to have that space of balance within yourself. So this is going to be very very, very difficult for people who are very much on the I'm too nice to say no road. But Thereus will show you one way or another. Anywho, so that's what I wanted to say with respect to Thereus in Virgo. I think I've covered probably the heart of the concept. And you know, Ade, I suggest going back to the beginning before you say anything. But I would say this is probably a good way to look at the consolidated information of what Thereus and Virgo is going to present for all of us in different ways. Some of you may even want to reconsider the work that you're doing. Some of you may want to reconsider health options. Some of you may want to reconsider the way you interact and manage your relationship with others. And I think all of us are going to be asked to do at least one of the above. So having said that, let me go to the questions and comments now. If there's anything directly relevant to this, let me know. And hello, everyone. Let's see. Okay, no questions so far. Let me give you a little bit of time of questions. Okay, so I'm just waiting for any relevant questions to come up. No requests for personal chart readings, please. I remember. Oh, actually, no. This is a good opportunity to tell you. I am doing something called the gratitude sessions this month because I did want to thank everybody for the years of support that they have shown me. And it's interesting, even in those sessions, sometimes I've had to tell people who haven't seen me for years, hey, I don't need to, I don't do this particular service. Here's your money, take care. But a lot of the times, people who haven't really heard from me in a while, reconnecting, have basically just jumped straight back into a good vibe and a good flow and have gotten what they needed. So the gratitude sessions are basically a 25% discount on my 30-minute readings. And I highly advise making the most of it because I do not normally do discounts. But Spirit said do it, so I'm doing it. These sessions are going to be running all throughout August. In fact, you can book for a later time as long as you book by August. And I highly recommend you telling people who don't have prior experience with me but would benefit from it about these sessions, as it would be a good introduction. Let me just type the link. Hang on. Let me just type the link. Oh, wait. I've unplugged my thingamajiggy. Hang on. Just give me a sec. Let's see. I'll get to questions in a sec. Here we go. Okay. All right. So the link is very simple. It's www.theskypriestess.as.me/gratitude. Simple. And again, you can book for later points in time. One person can use the link once. Um, and you can also book for later dates. So Vivi wants to know anything to look out for at this time. Vivi, do you mean this time or do you mean during the transit, which is like 4 years? Meghna wants to know, and this is my friend, how does the current alignment show up in relationships? That is an excellent, excellent question, and thank you for asking it. It really depends on the level of the relationship. People who are still very much looking at Thereus or not even aware of Thereus alignments are going to feel their partner or partners clawing into them, unless they are the person doing the clawing. There may be this and this, this one-sided transfer of energy that is not at all welcomed. Sometimes it can happen through someone becoming increasingly needy. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't need help, but there's a difference between needing help and really thriving off neediness. If a relationship is in a more mature space, it involves recognizing and acknowledging those themes that may come up and providing care in a way that another person can receive without depletion. So it's about managing the level of care and the level of nurture that is being given. And also, in the most direct way, it can manifest as basically guilt trips, hooks in another person saying, you got to give me this, you got to give me that, otherwise you don't care about me, stuff like that. And also, it can certainly be in finagling over the details of financial resources. Let's see. Kautar Das, do you need to prepare anything for reading a session? It's a good question. Basically, this reading with me is it's a very unpredictable experience in the sense that everybody's reading will be different and it really depends on your level of consciousness. So for me, the most important thing is empty your head. If you expect a reading to go with me a certain way, chances are it will not. It might exceed your expectations or it might be something that you didn't, see coming. So empty your expectations. If you like my vibe and you trust that I can guide you a certain way, just let go and let the work happen. Whereas if you go, I read this and I did this and I know this and I want to talk about this and that, I'm just going to look at you and go, do you want me to do my job or not? So empty the expectations, come in with a space of faith. Faith doesn't mean blindly letting go of your boundaries. It also for me, it means you're open, but at the same time, you are aware of your body and you are aware of what your body feels. The people that I work with the best are the ones that are very, very much in tune with their bodies because they'll feel, okay, this feels right for me, or I'm feeling a bit of resistance around this. So if you're looking for something like talk therapy, I'm not the person for that. I'm someone who is very focused and very targeted in what I say to people because I'm looking at a situation that needs to be addressed in a particular way. And each person needs a different approach. So empty the cup, come with faith, but at the same time, don't let go of your discernment. That would basically be the primary preparation that I would need. And as long as you can do that, you should be okay. The people that tend to fare the worst in readings, and of course there's some people who really don't like their readings, are the people who have a very strong egoic idea of themselves, or that they want me to tell them that they are this great thing or that great thing, or people who are masking their own trauma. Those are the ones where they have a very nasty experience because that is my energy. My energy will wake you up, even if it means kicking you in the butt. But when you are facing what you need to face with openness and grace, most people enjoy it. Babies usually come into the readings. They will demand to be let into the room, children, animals, because they like the energy of what is being created. So, for me, sometimes I wonder, or in the past I wondered, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? And just as I'm wondering, a little baby will come up and smile. And I know, yes, I'm doing exactly what I need to do. Love does not always come in Care Bear shape. Sometimes it comes in the form of a boot to the bum. Let's see. Okay, so Chantal asked, I didn't get the link. Can you repeat it, please? it's been written here in the text. It's the skypriestess.as.me/gratitude. If you type into Google sessions with the sky priestess, it will come up. Chiron wants to know, where is my lute? Ah, Chiron. Well, I recently got a lute, lyre. I don't like the word lyre because it sounds like liar, but it's a lyre, but it's a lute as well. Um, I have not tuned it today, but since you asked, I will show it briefly. Hang on, just give me a sec. Give me a sec. I shall go and fetch this. Chiron. Chiron is another dear friend. Just hang on. Da, 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 da. Where is it? Oh, coming. Okay, here we are. This is my thingamabobber. You could also just call it a hand harp. So, I've been exploring and playing this, and I've been actually, tuning it to some minor harmonic scales and so on and so forth. Funny thing, Bhairavi is actually a Carnatic scale. I mean, that's why they named me Bhairavi. They just thought it was a musical scale, or what's called a raga. And it turns out that quite naturally my ears are tuned to that raga very easily. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But yes, that is my lute. That is my lute. Answering Chiron's question. Kafdar says, I have no expectations. Good, good. Carl says, I appreciate thinking of Thereus as part of the evolutionary process. Excellent. I have to write this in the book. Christian says, are the readings by email or phone? Phone, Zoom, WhatsApp. That's the way they tend to happen. Bramjot says, great to catch you live. I am quite empty-headed. Good, good. Chantal says, thank you, got it. Chiron smiles. Queen Luna says, oh, so pretty. It is quite pretty. It's a very beautiful instrument. No, Chiron, no solo yet. No solo yet. I have to learn, man. Eventually I will. I'll let you know. Bibi said, my question was for the next few months this year. Um, hmm. Well, the next few months, I mean, honestly, I don't like looking that far ahead. But effectively, we're going to be seeing Jupiter still moving through Aquarius. It's only going to move into Pisces in December. That's a big deal. We're also going to be seeing the end of the North Node and South Node in Gemini and Sagittarius. That's a big deal. That also moves through in December. Really, December, the build up to December this year is going to be very similar to the start of the year. It's still going to be about deciding what kinds of technologies, what kinds of tools, what kind of people that we should be interacting with. And it's also going to be very much about finding the path or finding the road that resonates best with who you are as a person. Because after December, next year is a completely different kettle of fish. And it's going to be much more psychically focused and much more concerned about matters of truth and authenticity and control dramas and power, which is why I said previously this year, this is basically a gap year. You need to find your path and you need to stick with it. And you need to find the people and the tools and the networks that you need to stay on your path. Path doesn't mean something some fellow on a mountain or someone on Instagram or YouTube tells you. Path is something you walk on your own and you find on your own, as far as I'm concerned. So, they're in that sense, they're going to be, it's going to be more of what we have experienced at the start of the year. And we all need to make certain very key choices. Let's see. Chiron says he'll be waiting impatiently for the solo. I'll see what I can do. Oh, yes. Ray brings a good point. The Perseid meteor shower will be peaking in the next few areas. Yes, I had heard about this. And it's an annual event, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, quite a few interesting meteors in the skies. That actually does remind me of something. Two important things I want us to be all a bit focused on when it comes to Thereus and Virgo. August the 12th, you're going to be seeing a Mercury conjunct Thereus in Virgo. And then we are going to be seeing August the 22nd, the full moon, I believe, will be, is it conjunct or opposed? Yeah, the full moon will be opposed Thereus and Virgo. So all of what we're talking about now will already be revisited in different ways, August the 12th, August the 22nd. I'd say as a, in a nutshell, this is what we need to, this is one of those videos you can come back to, over the next couple of years. You probably want to bookmark it, really getting to the heart, getting to the essence of what we all need to be developing over the next few years. So if there's no other key questions, um, I would say that's about it. Remember that the remember that the gratitude sessions are on, and you can schedule them for later dates as long as you book by the end of August. And yeah, oh, hang on, we have something. Yes, it's that time. Dr. B, is something going on with the throat at this time? My throat has been aching. This is an excellent question. Thank you for asking this question. Okay, so not Chiron. Chiron, I've been looking at your name too much. I keep saying Chiron now, but it's fair, the wounded healer. Um, but Thereus in Virgo effectively will bring up a health issue if you ignore it. So if you're going through an aching throat right now, chances are there's some kind of an energetic blockage or perhaps even a health concern that you're not looking at. So, Thereus in Virgo is going to be intensifying those health concerns, which is why I said looking at the body, looking at holistic health is something everybody needs to do. So it's not going to be super specific on one thing, because, well, Virgo deals with general health. The most common point is the focus on digestion, but generally it's also wherever the body does need you to pay more attention to the balance that you require. So it may be, it may be something that's more specific to you, and Simha was also commented. So, look at what are the larger factors that are behind it. Kautar says thyroid issues got worse for me. I heard from another friend who's also got a similar issue going on. But I also I have a sense that a lot of these issues also come up from energetic imbalances of not um, of not exactly expressing what you need to express and the way you need to express it. Uranus in Taurus, Veronica asked if it's Uranus in Taurus. Yes, you can say it's Uranus in Taurus, but Uranus has been in Taurus for a while. So if it's flaring up, there's got to be a trigger for it. Now, if you had said it had flared up a few days ago around the new moon, I'd say, yeah, okay, it's because the new moon is aspecting Uranus. But if it suddenly started today, I would say it's more indicative of a larger need that Thereus is asking you to pay attention to. Let's see. All right. Carl Pope says Thereus in relationship to the global pandemic seems to be a big deal. I like Carl. Carl and I would get along very well in real life, because Carl asks the pertinent questions. And, this is a very interesting topic, because Thereus is, of course, at some point, it is going to trine Pholus. And if you remember, Pholus is the energy that I associate very strongly with that outbreak of coronavirus and this grab for power that really governments all over the world are, going to town on. So this is going to be a very important time to see how power is going to be abused in the name of the coronavirus. 2nd of September 2021, so in other words, a couple of weeks from now, February 2022, July 2022. So between September to July, well, this is really where we're going to see if there is some weird ass agenda coming out that they're going to try and strong arm us into. This is very, very likely where we're going to be seeing that come up. So, have a clear plan, have a clear understanding of how you are going to respond to the requirements that people are going to try and force upon you, because that energy is going to be coming up as well. So excellent point, Carl. Excellent point. Yeah, I would say that is probably a wrap. So all of you take care. Very many blessings. Lots of love to everyone. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that Thereus helps us uncover. So we need to protect ourselves. Protect yourself, find a sustainable point of equilibrium, and then do good in the world. So take care. Very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye.